I'd like to call to order the June 15th, 2021 meeting of the Architectural Review Board. Ms. McDonald, will you please call the roll?
Irma Johnson, Patty Cross, Brittany Sands,
Here.
Kevin Breek,
Here.
Jennifer Oberlin,
Here.
Nicole Conkle.
Here.
We have a quorum of 4.
Board members, have you looked over the minutes from the last meeting? Did anybody have any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes from the May 18th board meeting.
I'll second.
Will you call the roll, please?
Miss Oberlin,
Yes.
Miss Sands,
Yes.
Mr. Breek,
Yes.
and Miss Conkle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Is there any new business from staff before we begin design review? I want to briefly read the chair's report from between this meeting and the last meeting. We've assisted in various aspects of Frankfort Heritage Week, recorded presentations on archaeology and cultural resources in Frankfort, solicited comments from board members individually on recent updates to staff reports, and spoke with staff and ARB Vice Chair regarding possible ways to assist property owners in understanding and navigating the application process beyond what we have now. Ms. McDonald, would you read our first review item, please?
In accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, Jen Williamson, on behalf of Ellen Collins and Brent Swager, is requesting a certificate of appropriateness to remove an existing service chimney and install a lightweight reproduction exterior chimney at the property located at 108 West Todd Street. The property is more particularly identified as PVA map number 062-32-01-013.00.
Well, who will be giving staff reports this week? Thank you, Ms. Beerenberg.
Can you all hear me? Okay. Give me a moment here. All right. So our first case is at 108 West Todd Street, and this may look familiar to you all. This is a continuation of a previous application from January of 2021. And at that time, the applicants came to request the approval to remove their rear chimney to accommodate an interior remodeling. The vote on that COA ended in a tie. And rather than resubmit the same applications, the applicants have modified their proposal to be compatible with the existing special capital design guidelines. So let's talk a little bit about this house first and its location. It is an American four-square house that exhibits a lot of prairie style detailing, and it was built circa 1912. It is a contributing resource to the South Frankfort Neighborhood National Register Historic District, which you may know was listed in 1982, and it had a boundary expansion and additional documentation completed to extend the period of significance in 2013. The period of significance for the district is 1833 to 1963. This house exhibits pretty high level of integrity, as does the entire block. Here's a map showing its location between the streets of Shelby and Capitol Avenue on West Todd. So the new proposal that they have brought here is pictured on the right of the screen, And they are asking to remove the rear chimney and replace it with a lightweight replica having the exact same dimensions as the original. The replica will be covered with stucco and painted to match the existing. And from the public right-of-way, it should appear the same as the existing chimney. So staff has evaluated this proposal, and we do find it to be compatible with the zoning regulations and design guidelines found in Article 4 and 17, and the following suggested facts. Number 1, the existing service chimney no longer serves a functional purpose. 2, the existing service chimney is covered with stucco, masking the masonry underneath. 3, the service chimney is identified on the Kentucky Individual Survey Form from 2011 as a character-defining feature of this building. 4, while visible, the service chimney is located at the rear of the property and is less visible from the public right-of-way than the primary chimney on the house. 5, removing only the interior portion of the chimney to accommodate interior renovations while keeping the exterior chimney chase a crown is not recommended, as this may make the chimney structurally unsound. 6, this proposal allows the appearance of the house from the public right-of-way to remain unchanged. If the ARB elects to issue a certificate of appropriateness for this application, staff recommends that the following conditions be applied. Number 1, the existing open building permit shall be amended to reflect the work approved in this request. 2, any additional projects requiring a building permit shall require review and approval by the ARB unless a certificate of no exterior effect is issued. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does any board member have a question for staff?
May
Hi.
may I ask her a question?
Sure.
Vicki, wasn't this because they wanted to use the existing kitchen and renovate it, and they couldn't do that with the structure where it was located?
That is
So
correct.
that the basis was not just to remove it, it was for expanding the kitchen and using the services, right?
That is correct.
Thank you.
I have one question, please. By replacing the chimney in this manner, would the chimney still be considered a character-defining feature as it's listed in the survey form? Going back to number 3 of your suggested facts.
Well, I would imagine if an architectural historian was out surveying the neighborhood, that they will not be able to tell that this chimney has been replaced. Especially with it being on top of the roof as opposed to something that's closer to your eyeballs. So I would imagine, if you did not know any better, that you might still record the chimney on the survey form as being the original chimney.
But,
It is gonna have the same exterior finish, it will be the same dimensions.
but that will not necessarily mean that it will still be counted as a character defining feature.
Right, we don't know that.
Right.
Any other questions? Thank you. Will the applicant please come and state your name and address for the record, or the name and address of the property?
I'm Jen Williamson. My address is 407 Wapping Street, and the address of the property is 108 West Todd.
Thank you.
Okay, so we agree with the comments in the staff report, of course. I did want to just add, while I had the opportunity to come up and speak to the board, because I know when this was considered in January, there was concern about precedent setting of chimneys coming down for other reasons. And I do want to just underline the unique instance that we have in this particular case, that the brick chimney has got a stucco finish on it. And I did also just want to point out to the rehabilitation standard number 6, which kind of deals with the replacement of features. It speaks really to the idea of the visual character. The new feature, this is quoting that standard, a portion of that standard, is the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. So we are looking to fully remove the vertical shaft, the point load of all of that brick masonry, so that it won't be a bump out in the kitchen area. So that's why we're taking this approach, and I'm hoping that the fact that we have, in this case, an existing historic chimney that has a stucco finish that we can match in contemporary construction with a stucco finish. If we were building this today, we would build it in wood and put stucco finish on it. We wouldn't build it in masonry. It would probably have a metal flue going through if it was serving a function of being an exhaust point. But this will just be it'll be a feature that is, it maintains that characteristic for the structure. It won't be used for any type of exhausting.
Will the stucco actually, will it be stucco masonry and not a drive it or a?
No, it'll be stucco,
Okay.
like a sand finished stucco.
Any other questions? Were there any citizen comments pertaining to this application?
Can you hear me?
Thank you, Ms. Williamson.
I received one phone call with regard to this application. There was nothing written submitted, but the comments were not in support.
Are there any discussion points the board would like to raise pertaining to this application? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I will motion that in accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, that we issue a certificate of appropriateness to remove an existing service chimney, install a lightweight reproduction exterior chimney at the property located at 108 West Todd Street, with the conditions as stated in the staff report. 2 conditions.
Is there a second?
I'll second. And I hate to see a chimney come down, but if it's gonna come down, I feel like this is one of the better case scenarios that it could be.
Agreed. Will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Oberlin,
Yes.
Ms. Sands,
Yes.
Mr. Brink,
Yes.
and Ms. Conkle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Will you read the next review item, please, Ms. McDonald?
In accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, Mike Lutke of Lutke Construction is requesting a certificate of appropriateness to install vinyl replacement windows and K-style gutters at the property located at 308-310 East 2nd Street. The property is more particularly identified as PVA map number 062-31-22-018-00.
Okay, this application is for a property at 308, 310 East 2nd Street in South Frankfort. It is a Craftsman bungalow duplex. It is a contributing resource to the South Frankfort National Register District. This particular style and type of house represent the most prevalent housing constructed during the early part of the 20th century. It has a moderate level of integrity. It is missing some of its original features, including many of the doors and windows. and the chimneys that are noted on the survey form are no longer there. Here's a location map, so you can see where it is located, close to the intersection of Murray and Second Street. And the applicant is proposing to replace the existing windows, which are a mix of materials, wood and vinyl, and configurations. There are at least 3. And he would like to replace them with vinyl 3/1 double hung sashes. He would also like to install K-style gutters. Currently, the building has no gutters whatsoever. So here's a couple of pictures from the staff report so that you can see the existing conditions. When he purchased the property, a number of windows had been replaced by the previous owner. This work was done without a permit. Apparently these windows, which are vinyl, do not fit the openings well, and some of them were damaged. And then we have wood windows that have been there for a long time. Both the 6/6 configuration and the 3/1 configuration. The survey form actually calls out the 6/6 windows as being original. That could be true, but I will tell you that 6/6 is not a common window configuration for an arts and crafts bungalow. You more commonly see the 3/1 configuration, and that led me to believe that those possibly were original, but I did some later inspection and I see that those don't really fit the openings very well either. So there are also 1/1 vinyl sashes on the west elevation, so there's a little bit of everything here. These are the materials that the applicant is proposing for replacement. You can see the 3/1 design. The South Frankfurt, the Special Capital Design Guidelines also allow 1/1 replacement windows as a configuration by right. So staff has looked at this proposal, and we have been on site several times. We find it to be partially compatible with Articles 4 and 17 and the following suggested facts. Number 1, the applicant purchased the property with both wood windows, some of which are replacements, and vinyl replacement windows. Number 2, the existing windows are a variety of configurations. Wood double hung with 6/6 true divided lights, wood double hung with 3/1 true divided lights, vinyl double hung with 6/6 simulated divided lights, and vinyl double hung with 1/1 sashes. Number 3, the majority of the windows are in disrepair or do not fit the openings properly. And number 4, in the 200 and 300 blocks of East 2nd Street, the vast majority of installed gutters and downspouts are K-style already. If the ARB elects to issue a certificate of appropriateness for this application, staff suggests the following conditions be applied. Number 1, the original window opening shall not be altered. Number 2, the configuration of the replacement windows can be 3/1, 6/6, 6/1, or 1/1, but they should be consistent, so pick one. Number 3, the replacement windows shall be wood, clad with either vinyl or aluminum on the exterior. 4, the applicant will provide window specs to staff for the final window selection. 5, the existing open building permit shall be amended to reflect the work approved in this request. 6, any additional projects, including the potential replacement of the existing front doors or any exterior details, shall require the review and approval of the ARB unless a certificate of no exterior effect is issued.
Are there any questions from the board for staff?
I do have a couple.
You too.
So, the 6/6 wood that we think may be original, are there 2 of them on the current property?
There are probably more than 2. If you look at the staff report. 1, 2, I think I see 3 on the east elevation. There's 1 on the rear elevation, so that would be 4.
And can you speak to their condition?
Well, they're not in great condition. I couldn't touch them, couldn't get close enough to touch them, but you can see, like in this one, in the one picture that I got here, the meeting rail is falling off that particular window. There's some rot. They haven't been painted in a long time, but in addition to that, there's some rot.
What about the 3/over ones?
That particular window I thought was in pretty solid shape, but again, I could tell it doesn't exactly fit the window opening, and the one on the rear even more so.
Looks like they've
So they
added a
just
board.
they don't fit appropriately. But the 6/6s do, they just need some care, love. The reason why I'm saying this is, and I don't even know how we would, I'm just thinking creatively, get some of the originals back in the front. You see what I'm thinking? And then do something different around the sides and back. If they could be salvaged.
Okay.
Just a thought.
I'm not sure that the dimensions match all the way around.
Like, meaning the ones in the rear.
So like
could
the
be a
front
different-
windows
yeah.
are definitely replaced with vinyl. And I'm not sure if those dimensions are the same.
As the ones
As
that are
any-
existing,
yeah.
yeah.
And it looks like they've taken out the framing and everything for the fronts. So nothing of the original windows are there at all.
In the
Yeah.
front.
I would concur with that the applicant will be able to talk to that.
Any more questions for staff?
I think my question's more for the owner.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here? Would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Mike Clutke. The address is 308 and 310 East 2nd Street.
Have you read the staff report
Yes.
and the suggestions, and are you in agreement with those?
I would like everyone to know I entered in this project almost a year ago, and just am getting to the permit process now, but I ordered these windows almost 6 months ago, and they're sitting in my shop. So if there's any way we could get the 3/1s vinyl approved, that would be great. The front door does not match anything. It looks like it should be on the side door of a garage, in my opinion. I would like to work with you guys on maybe a more appropriate front door that would bring the character that it needs. In regards to the front windows, the front 2 windows are the largest 2 openings in the house. The windows are on the side. There are some doubles that are shown here, but they are smaller, so I don't think swapping things around is going to be feasible in this.
Are they smaller because the framing's gone, or because they
The windows in
were
the front
smaller?
are a larger single, where I think, in my opinion, a larger single originally, and the ones on the side are a smaller double. So I don't think we'll get the original size back in the front of the house.
So these are vinyl and that you've ordered, and they don't fit with the staff suggestions.
That is correct.
So the staff suggestion would be wood
Vinyl
with,
clad.
right, or
And
aluminum,
they don't fit with the guidelines, correct?
correct.
Oh,
I have a question too,
Mhm.
just for clarity. So the vinyl windows that you ordered and you already have, would the window openings, they would have to be altered to
No, they are
install?
ordered to the original size.
They are the correct size.
I do, I mean, I see something about a nail flange. Does that mean that they're gonna get retrimmed?
So with this front window that you can see on the left,
Right, that-
it's a new construction window that was there when I bought it. My proposal would be to throw in new construction windows and then try to match that existing trim that we can see on the side of the buildings. About 50% of the windows right now have exterior trim, and I would like it to match like this double.
So with the ones that are still with the trim work existing, would that get the new nail flange or would that get a replacement window?
That would get a nailing flange, but that trim would come off. The new window would go in, and the trim would be reapplied.
Have we, this is all one proposal. This doesn't get broken down.
Oh, 1 second, are there any more questions for the applicant right now? Thank you very much. Okay, sorry, Mr. Brakewood.
This is all one proposal, right? I mean, we can't break it down.
Mr. Logan, can we separate?
No, you can approve portions of it and disapprove portions of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure the applicant would want to go forward with the project if he only got part.
Yeah.
But we have the right to divide it up.
Is there any other discussion?
I'm not reading Kevin's mind down there. I'm wondering what he's thinking.
Well, part of my problem is with the windows, when you disturb the windows, like taking the trim off and trying to put a replacement in and putting trim back on, I have not seen that work out well. It's a hard thing to get to look good or even fit well.
Can I say anything?
Yep.
That
Step to the microphone,
Sorry.
please.
That exterior is about a half inch at most of concrete exterior over lath. From what I can tell around the front door and the windows that are already there, removing a window, or removing trim properly and then reinstalling, it shouldn't be anything that is challenging. I could see if the exterior was something different
Yeah.
or thicker, there was multiple layers that we were working with. But in my opinion, this is pretty cut and dry.
Are you gonna be disturbing the stucco?
No.
Any other discussion? I have a little bit, nobody else to go. In some of my review, I dug back into these guidelines and noticed that there are several guidelines dealing with like the actual review process of how documents funnel through. So just looking at the review, or at the design guidelines 17.03, 17.05, 17.06, and 17.07, as well as 4.41, I'm sorry, 4.411 and 4.418. All these guidelines have to do with basically the process, the review process, and I just kind of wanted to put that out there and see if anybody had any thoughts or comments on that.
What are your thoughts?
That was just that. I just wanted to point those guidelines out and just let everybody know that they do apply to this review as well, because a couple of these I don't think were listed in the staff suggestions, but they aren't specifically design guidelines. They're just process. They have to do with process. Is there any further discussion on the design review? Were there any citizen comments pertaining to this application? Is there anybody else here who would like to speak on this application?
I would just like to know, he's bashful, but.
Would you step to the microphone? Thank you.
We'll need your name, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Brittany Lutke, and I was just saying, he's a little bit bashful, but he has past experience in historic renovation, and so I just wanted to let you know that we both appreciate and he fully understands, and I feel like we do all want the same things. When we bought this home, and as you can see, it's in really, really bad shape. You know, it's not livable right now. The interior is maybe 30 times worse than the exterior is showing. And, you know, we want to invest in properties in Frankfort and bring back this character, so we appreciate what you all are doing. And, you know, it is unfortunately laughable at how many different windows and styles, and unfortunately the previous owner did not go through the proper process. So now we're coming back, trying to fix the things the best that we can, and we want them to also look better and be appropriate. So no, we want to work with you, but we can only do so much with decaying wood, but we want it to fit. So that's
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion? We have no motion. Discussion, did you have a comment?
No, I've
Well, what are your thoughts about the
I have a
comments, too?
comment
Okay.
of, and I'm wondering how they got here, because he ordered the windows ahead of time, and I was wondering when were you told that this was a historic property, and when did you, yes, please. And when did you, go before to get into the application process?
So I applied for the application maybe, 45 days ago. So I got 15 days to kind of get my paperwork turned in for this meeting. When I bought the properties, I should have done a little bit more homework up front. I was told by the previous owner, I asked about things because we own 3 properties right on this corner. I don't need approvals for everything. It's not a historic district. Go ahead and put up whatever style gutter, because I asked, because none of the properties have round gutters. And
Hang on one second. I'm sorry, who did you ask?
it was the property owner who was selling it to me, and I took it for what it was and moved forward. About 3 or 4 months ago, we got a letter in the mail saying it was an abandoned property and our tax rate was increasing. At that time, I had already ordered the windows, and when we called to say, hey, we got windows ordered, we're going to be filling out a building permit, that person on the phone informed my wife that you have to have approvals for the exterior of your home.
Yeah.
That's when we went and applied for building permit.
That's unfortunate. Is there, I mean, we don't have a motion right now. So I'm gonna ask you some other questions. would it be possible for you to use these windows in another project and maybe get a different style window? Because I feel like maybe that's a big hang up right now.
To say that's impossible, no. They would sit in my shop
Yeah,
until
I understand.
whenever. I hope that's not the case. I would wonder if we could look at something, maybe if there's a compromise along the lines of would half round gutters and an appropriate front door help guide this in the right direction.
Or possibly the front facade. I mean, two windows that are appropriate and a front door and half
And the
rounds.
I would work if that would work for me.
So,
But I think it has to come back. Does it have to come back through?
Could staff make a comment?
yeah,
Yes,
please,
please.
please.
I wanted to make one.
Ms. Berenberg, would you step to the microphone too? Sorry.
Everybody to the microphone.
And it's so the public can
I
hear.
just wanted you all to remind you all that when someone comes in to replace a vinyl window with vinyl.
Right.
That gets administratively approved.
Okay.
Okay, so he could have put vinyl windows in the vinyl slots.
Right.
Because he had existing vinyl. Just wanted to make sure you remember that.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like for the half round gutters.
Is there a way for us to make a motion for what we were just suggesting?
Yes, you can change.
Okay.
Before you do that, hang on one second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ms. Sams. Ms. Sams, what was your question or comment? Ms. Sams?
I was just adding a discussion point that I thought that the half round gutter suggestion was good.
All right. Any other discussion? Now we're ready for a motion.
Well, this is going to take a minute.
That's fine.
And from a precedent perspective, we feel comfortable.
Given that some of the windows are already vinyl
Yeah.
and the wooden windows
And
are
the-
in a state of disrepair, serious
Yeah.
disrepair.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot.
Highly degraded.
I would love
Yes.
to do something with that, but
That's a lot. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So where's the?
You can do it, Kevin.
We'll see. All right. I would like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for the property at 308 310 East 2nd Street, that the owner work with staff on a proper or a better choice of front door, half round gutters, and the two front windows to be more along the guidelines of the aluminum clad, vinyl clad wood option.
We can say
And-
3/1 all around.
Yes. And 3/1s. And the remaining windows to be what was previously proposed along with staff suggestions. Except for two. Wait. There's one that, except for one. Not one.
Well, three would apply to the front.
Three would apply to the front and the rest, because, yeah, they don't match the windows don't match the report or the suggestions. So, but I would, all staff suggestions and add the other 7 to be accepting the windows from the application for all remaining windows.
Don, you got it.
I know. That was rough.
Ms. McDonald.
We've got it recorded, so.
We do have it recorded.
Okay.
You had me until, I was with you all the way through half-round gutters.
Okay.
It's tricky. So.
I just have to make sure I get the motion correct, so.
Yes.
So after the gutters, you said the 2 front windows,
The front door, they
Already
should, they
heard
will
that.
work, okay.
Work with staff.
Oh, okay. The 2 front windows will be replaced with
Wood.
wood, aluminum clad, or wood vinyl clad.
okay. I think I got
Three
3
over 1.
And then the rest of the windows?
Could
Will be 3 over 1.
vinyl replacement that he already has given us the documentation for.
Perfect.
With the
conditions.
in the gutter. The
Yeah.
half round. You got it.
Got the half round, yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Brittany, that was really easy.
Ms. McDonald, we call the roll, please.
Ms. Oberlin?
Yes.
Ms. Samms?
Yes.
Mr. Bree?
Yes.
And Ms. Conkle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
We feel the same way.
Oh, that was fun first.
We can be done tonight.
Okay. How many more?
We can do this. All right. Ms. McDonald, would you read the next item, please?
In accordance with Articles 4, 17, 18, and 19 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, Natalie Wilkerson of Collective Capital LLC is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a bakery to operate at the property located at 127 East Todd Street. The applicant is also requesting a certificate of appropriateness to allow the installation of signage, a walk-in cooler, service deck, a privacy screening fence at the rear exterior of the building with the same address. The property is more particularly identified as PVA map number 062-32-04-006.00.
Good evening, everyone. Jordan Miller, City of Frankfort Planning Department. 127 East Todd is located on the corner of East Todd Street and Logan. That's a 1912 Sanborn map there, showing the property documented as a grocery. It was originally constructed as a commercial building. It is one of the few commercial buildings that we still have in South Frankfort, and which is predominantly a residential area. It is a contributing property to the National Register District. Based on what's being proposed, is compatible with what it was originally constructed, as I mentioned earlier. So in the past, this has received several CUPs from this board, probably, 4 or 5 over the last couple of decades. And every time it was approved, there was a condition that the conditional use was only granted towards that specific applicant. So there's a aerial map there that you can see. The adjacent property is vacant, and then across the street we have residential, behind residential, and as well as across the street there is a church that's behind there to the southwest. So based upon our review of the request, we have a few suggested facts. We find that this use complies with the purpose and intent of the zoning district special capital that it lies within. The proposed use is consistent with the goals and policies of the South Frankfort District, which is specifically identified in the comprehensive plan. The building in which the use is proposed is 916 square feet. It's located on Urban Arterial Street, which is a state road, I believe. The building has a long history of uses associated with food and grocery provision to the surrounding neighborhood. So we do have some suggested conditions too if the board finds that they would like to approve this request. 5 of them. The first 2 are pretty standard conditions: a building permit for a change of use. Any additional projects shall require approval by the ARB or a certificate of no exterior effect to be issued. It's permitted only at this location, of course. Any signs of the bakery shall conform to the standards within Article 3 of the zoning ordinance and 13 of the zoning ordinance. And those can be approved administratively if they meet those standards. And the conditional use, whose land use is codified as retail trade, eating and drinking places, and land use code 581 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance is transferable so long as it remains that use. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I haven't received any comments or anything of that nature from the public regarding this conditional use. I did speak with the property owner behind, who said that she was in favor of it. She lives at 618 Logan, Miss Jolene Van Horn, I believe, and she was in favor of the proposal. She said she would be here tonight. I'm not sure if she is, but I would just like to state that as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jolene. Okay, she's here. Good. Cool. Sorry, Jolene. Still your thunder.
Are there any questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Thank you, Mr. Miller. Would you like to come to the microphone and state your name and address, please?
No.
For the record. Please.
My name's Natalie Wilkerson. Would you like my home address or the property
The
address?
property address is.
127 East Todd Street.
Thank you. Did you have anything else you wanted to share with us about the application that wasn't brought up in the staff report?
Not on the conditional use permit, no.
Okay. All right.
But I'm happy to answer questions.
Do you agree with the suggestions presented by staff in the staff report?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, and thank you. Does anyone else want to comment on this property, on this application? Please come to the microphone and give your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Lori McIntyre, and I live at 120 East Campbell Street. I also have a second home at 522 Logan Street, which is just a couple properties away. And I just want to say that I'm very much in support of the conditional use permit. And several other neighbors that I've talked to are also very enthusiastic about the proposed use. So that was it.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Okay. Are there any discussion points the board would like to raise on this application? Do we have a motion?
Somebody else.
However, this is not the certificate of appropriateness, this is the conditional use, right?
Actually, it is conditional use.
Yeah, I don't,
This is just the
Um,
conditional use portion, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, in accordance with Articles 4 and 17, to approve a conditional use, for the building at 127 East Todd Street, to be used as a bakery.
I'll
Do we have-
second.
Okay.
Will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Oberlin?
Yes.
Ms. Sams?
Yes.
Mr. Bree?
Yes.
Ms. Conkle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Now we're doing round two.
Would you read the next item, please, Ms. McDonald?
Well, you still need to consider the certificate of appropriateness in the
Yes.
current
Sorry.
item that we're on.
Okay. All right.
Do we need anything from staff for the certificate of appropriateness?
I think we need a description.
Yes.
All right. So the applicant is proposing to install a freestanding walk-in cooler at the rear of the property, attached to the building. A wood deck will be constructed from the rear door around the cooler. Trash and recycling receptacles will be located on the deck, and these elements will be screened by a painted wood privacy fence as well. Staff finds that it's compatible with the special capital design guidelines. I'm sorry, I said attached, it's detached. It's my fault. You can see there in that side view from the east elevation. It does rise slightly from your view shed, slightly above the privacy screen fence, but we feel it's minimized by that and location at the rear of the property. We do have 4 suggested facts. The deck and cooler are essential features for the use as a bakery. The deck will be completely screened from view. Privacy fences are permitted at the rear of the property in a special capital zone, and the walk-in cooler may be slightly visible, but it is not a permanent fixture to the historic property. We do have a few suggested conditions for this COA. It does have an open building permit from some work that they've been doing over the past couple of years, renovating the structure, and that shall be amended to reflect the work approved in this request. Any signs, as we mentioned in the CUP, shall conform to the standards in the zoning ordinance, and any additional projects requiring a building permit shall require further review either by this board or a certificate of no exterior effect by staff.
Does the
That
board
answers
have
the
any
questions.
questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come back up?
Hi, Natalie Wilkerson, 127 East Todd.
Thank you.
I brought a couple of things for you, if you don't mind, if I may approach the bench. Just a couple pictures of where we started, and it's not like, this was before we bought the property. I've got some copies. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I printed those out just to show that, as Mr. Miller stated, it's been various uses from grocery to restaurant, caterer, and the exterior of the building is sort of adapted with that. You'll see there's a green signage that's like, I guess they used to tack stuff up on that green signboard on the side. There's a window unit being punched through the side. And a window unit punched through the front through the transom lights, which we have removed and replaced. So, just to demonstrate that as the uses change, the building configuration gets changed a little bit too. It's still darling, of course. And I have the baker here with me, if you would like to talk to him.
We'll have both you and the baker read the staff report and suggestions, and do you agree with them?
As presented, yes. I don't know if Andy's seen the staff report, but.
Mr. Logan, do we need confirmation from the applicant in agreement with the staff, that he agrees with the staff suggestions?
Yes.
Being represented by Ms. Wilkerson, so
Okay.
she can give that affirmation.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Wilkerson? Thank you.
Thank you.
Were there any citizen comments for this? And is there any member, anyone here that wants to speak about this property? All right, board, are there any discussion points you guys would like to raise or any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. In accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, I would like to make a motion to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of signage, a walk-in cooler, a service deck, and a privacy and screening fence at the rear of the exterior of the building, given this suggested conditions.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Will you call the roll, please, Ms. McDonald?
Ms. Oberlin?
Yes.
Ms. Samms?
Yes.
Mr. Bree?
Yes.
Ms. Conklin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tina, could you read the next design review item, please?
In accordance with Articles 4, 16, 17, 18, and 19 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, Isabella and Kathleen A. of Limewater LLC are requesting a conditional use permit in order to operate a special events catering restaurant business on the property located at 900 Wilkerson Boulevard. The property is more particularly identified as PBA map number 061-00-00-081.00.
900 Wilkinson Boulevard. This is unique in the Special Historic District in that it's kind of located by itself. It's not surrounded by other buildings within the district that we see in the SH area. So this property is actually individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it's known as the Glenn Willis House. It has received a CUP from this board for this same use in the past, but with some different conditions upon that approval. So the applicant is coming before you, a different applicant is coming before you this time, requesting a few different changes that are in conflict with those original conditions, but staff feels like they are still within the purpose and intent of the Special Historic District. As you can see there, it's located on Wilkinson Boulevard. The surrounding zoning for this area is kind of a hodgepodge. Across the street there on Wilkinson Boulevard, we have multifamily high density. We have commercial uses to the north, residential, and then more commercial to the south there as well. So this is some images of the property there as well. There's existing parking that's sufficient for this use that's already exists. There will not be any exterior changes proposed with this conditional use as well. So, we have a few suggested facts. It complies with the intent of the SH district. It's consistent with the goals and policies of the comp plan. It's a large parking lot, as I mentioned, in the main building on the property, and meets the capacity requirements of this zoning district. And the property is currently used as a catering and special events business. So we do have a few suggested facts. Building permit obtained for a change of use. Any additional projects require review and approval by the ARB unless a COA is issued, a certificate of no exterior effect is issued. Use is only permitted at this property. It's also transferable, we recommend, so long as the use remains a special events, catering, and restaurant business, and any signs for this use shall conform to the standards of Article 4 and 13. The zoning ordinance can be approved administratively. Haven't received any comments from the public regarding this request. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions from the board? Is the applicant here? Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Yes, Madam Chair, my name is Charlie Jones, 315 High Street, representing the applicants this evening. We've read staff report and in agreement with staff report to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Thank you,
Does
sir.
the report include the conditions specifically?
Yes. Mr. Jones, thank you. Bear with me, my apologies. You agree with the staff suggestions on page 3 of this report?
Yes, we agree with the
Everything.
each of the staff's suggested conditions.
Okay, thank you. And thank you.
It's just what I put in the record, so I wanted to make sure I had it for you.
Great, thank you so much. All right, do we have a second, motion and a second on that already? Are we ready to call the roll?
No.
No,
No, we
I'm
haven't.
sorry.
We don't have a motion yet.
Sorry. Sorry, would anyone like to make a motion?
I motion that we issue a conditional use permit in accordance with Articles 4, 16, 17, 18, and 19 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinances for the property located at 900 Wilkerson Boulevard with the 5 staff conditions and suggestions.
I'll second.
We call the roll, please.
Ms. Oberlin?
Yes.
Ms. Sands?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Conkle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Number 5, in accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, Herbert Meyer and Tony Lucy of Third Act LLC are requesting a certificate of appropriateness to replace 20 to 25 existing window sashes at 110 East Todd Street with aluminum-clad pocket insert windows. The property is more particularly identified as PDA map number 062-32-03-016.00.
Okay, the property at 110 East Todd Street is a contributing property to the South Frankfort Neighborhood National Register District. It is a turn-of-the-century, kind of vernacular style house that has some, a little bit of Victorian detailing, a little bit of classical detailing, but really it's kind of minimally detailed. It does have a high level of integrity. It currently has wood window sashes, and they are all a 1/1 sash configuration. There are aluminum storm windows attached to the outside. And the proposal for this application is to replace the existing 1/1 double hung window sashes with wood pocket insert sashes that are clad with aluminum on the exterior. Let's see. Here's an aerial map showing the location of the property relative to Todd Street and Capitol Avenue. And here are some photographs I have taken of the existing windows. You can see that they are all 1/1, and you can see the storm windows, and you can see that they all vary a little bit on the trim around the exterior. The ones that have the more detailed trim, which you can see here, are on the front elevation. There's also some original detailing over the front door. That's a little bit Victorian style. So here's a picture again of one of the existing windows. And next to that, I have taken a photograph from the brochure of the proposed windows that they're planning to replace with. And these are pocket insert sashes. And what that means is that they utilize the existing window jambs. They don't tear out all of the wood framing and everything. They just kind of insert this new window in an existing frame or jamb liner into the opening. And the advantage of that is you're not ripping out a lot of the historic fabric that is original to the house. But one of the drawbacks, and the reason that this could not be administratively approved, is that it makes just a little bit slight visual difference in the dimensions of the window, in that jamb liner adds an extra 1/2 inch of material around the edge. And so there's just a little bit of a slight difference in the amount of glass that you see. Here are the cut sheets that the applicant provided. They're included in your packets. These are section drawings. You can see this is a section of the window looking down from the top. This little 1/2 inch portion right here, that's the jamb liner that's getting inserted into the existing window frame. And it looks like from the edge right here, where it slides into the window frame, all the way to here, is 3 1/16 inches. And in your staff reports, the applicant had taken a number of photographs to show you the dimensional information for the existing windows, which it really it doesn't change, it's not that a huge amount of difference. And in fact, like at the bottom, there's really hardly any difference because the existing wood sash, the bottom rail is taller than will be in the replacement window. So combined with the jamb liner, the bottom dimension, I don't think really changes at all. It's just a little bit of a modest difference. So, we have evaluated the proposal, and we find that it is partially compatible with Articles 4 and 17, and the following suggested facts. 1, the applicant proposes to replace wood windows with wood-clad aluminum, which is permitted in the special capital zone. 2, the design configuration of 1/1 sashes will not change. 3, pocket insert windows are installed with a new frame that sits inside the existing jamb. The frame adds a bit of material around the perimeter that reduces the size of the daylight opening. 4, pocket insert windows allow for the use or preservation of the existing window frame, which is historic fabric that will remain intact and actually may facilitate a future reinstallation of wood sashes down the road. Pocket insert windows change the appearance of the existing windows slightly from the exterior. 6, the drawings indicate the width of the new material from the existing jamb to the glass will be 3 1/16 inches. 7, the silver aluminum store windows will be removed and will not obscure the view of the new windows. And if the ARB elects to issue a certificate of appropriateness for this proposal, staff recommends the following conditions be applied. 1, the original window opening shall not be altered. 2, exterior window trim shall not be removed. 3, any additional project shall require the review and approval by the ARB unless a certificate of no exterior effect is issued. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for staff?
Can you speak to this current state of the windows that are being replaced? Are they deteriorating? Do they function?
I can't say that staff was able to look at every single window, but when I was, photographing the windows from the exterior, my impressions from those photos are that they're in pretty good shape. But we do allow replacement windows in the special capital district if they meet that requirement of having aluminum clad or vinyl clad exteriors and they're wood.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Berenger. Is the applicant here? Would you come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please?
I am Herbert Meyer. I am one of the principals of Third Act LLC that owns the building. The other member is Tony, who is behind me and is also here.
Thank you.
Now, speaking to the windows condition, the windows are non-functional. The existing windows do not open. They have been painted shut sometime in the past, and they cannot be cut loose because the triple track screens are on the outside and they would have to be raised to free the windows, and the windows can't be opened to raise the triple track screens. It's a puzzle. And in some places the windows are in very poor shape. You can see some of in the pictures you have, you can see some of the deterioration of the inside sashes. And several of the windows are cracked. I've managed to free 3 or 4 of them so I could open the windows for ventilation in the spring. Part of the reason I want to do this is to reduce energy loss through the panes of the glass. We're paying fairly large gas bills in the winter. I can't say anything about electric bills for cooling in the summer yet. We've just had the air conditioning on for the last month and I haven't gotten a bill yet. But I suspect they'll be elevated as well.
Have you explored having them restored?
Yes, and it will not change the energy efficiency, because the triple tracks are on there. Those are the only storm windows.
Well, airflow is
Well, the airflow is, the windows are painted shut. There is no airflow. It's a matter of insulation of the glass. The replacement glass is double pane low E glass, which will allow much less heat to pass through it. If it was still winter, I would be able to take a heat camera outside and show the heat losses through the window panes, but it's no longer winter. You'll have to excuse me, I'm an engineer. Retired.
Mr. Mayor, did you get a chance to read the staff report?
Yes, I did.
Do you agree with all the suggestions?
Yes.
Are there other questions from the board?
I actually might have a question for staff, not the property owner.
I would like to make one minor correction to the staff report about the back parking lot. It is not blacktop, it is pervious concrete installed by the previous owners. So it is reducing runoff considerably.
Before we go back to staff, does a board member have another question for the applicant? Thank you for the update.
What I'm wondering about, and maybe y'all can answer for me, you know, originally we say they have to salvage and keep anything that's removed,
You've asked that.
and I didn't see that in here.
I don't think it's listed in that, on this one. But if it's not, and that's something that we wanna consider, we can add that to the conditions, yes.
Can we ask staff if that was
Sure.
intentional?
Ms. Beerenberg? Ms. Beerenberg? Could we talk to you a little bit more, please?
I'm gonna go ahead and start. Traditionally, if someone's proposing something like this, we make one of the conditions that the original windows be retained on the property when
Well-
removed. I didn't see that in here, and I
You-
was
you
wondering
can-
if that.
You know, the conditions are suggested, so the board can add or subtract as they see fit, or whatever their consensus is.
Okay. I'm just wondering if it was something, you know, a definitive decision was made not to include that.
I'm not sure how we would, I wasn't aware of that particular condition that maybe has been applied in the past. I'm not sure how we would,
Well, Ms. Fairburn, usually we do it if there are windows that may subsequently be repaired and salvaged to use on the projects. The board has suggested that they be retained on the property for
Okay.
use, but I'm not certain that these type windows would fall in that category.
Yeah, we're not retaining any. We're repairing.
So there's, anything else from Ms. Beerenberg? Thank you. So you're saying there'll be nothing to
Well,
request salvaging?
Well, for them to retain it, I think the previous application would be that there's other windows that could be repaired or might be beneficial. But if they're repairing or replacing, all of the windows, then that kind of gets to a moot point because they're changing. So I don't know.
With that, I have a question there for discussion here. The original window openings shall not be altered, is
Yeah.
the suggested condition. Well, if the window openings are not altered, should someone in the future decide to go back to that, could it happen?
Yes,
Could
it
it be done?
could.
I have a discussion item, and this is a question maybe staff could answer as well, or the board. In Article 17, it says, this is section 5, original windows shall be retained when possible and repaired as needed. So I'm kind of wondering about the staff suggestion. So you do say this is an allowable change in the special capital district.
Jordan and I met with the applicant on site, and we had a meeting, and we strongly encourage them to explore other options besides replacement. We provided them with literature, and we also gave them the information that they needed about the state historic rehabilitation tax credit, because they were going to be spending the minimum requirement for eligibility. And we also gave them the names of, I believe, 3 window restoration contractors. So I feel like we did, we tried to do our due diligence to ensure that the windows would be repaired. But the way the design guidelines are written now, if an applicant comes in to replace windows and meets that condition in the special capital zone of having wood windows with cladding, they generally get approved. As long as there's not a design change in the window or a dimensional change, which is why it's being brought to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have one more question on the applicant, if that's okay. Were you able to contact any of the window restoration people that?
The contractor we have chosen also offered as an option repair, and suggested against it. He didn't think he could increase the energy efficiency very much. I also want to state that some of the literature that Vicki provided us contains math errors. Excuse me for being an engineer, a mathematician and a physicist.
Okay, thank you. Are there any citizen comments on this application? Please.
Again, I'm Lori McIntyre, 120 East Campbell Street. I live fairly nearby in the vicinity. I do find it troubling that so many properties around my neighborhood are going through this process of removing and discarding historic wood windows. And I just think that I do understand that the guidelines, the historic district guidelines for special capital are what they are, and may allow it at this point, but I don't think it's a good precedent. I think that from what I've learned from the meeting, it sounds as if the windows are not beyond repair. And certainly if you can remove storm windows to install entirely new window sash, then you can certainly remove those storm windows to perform repairs on the existing windows.
Thank you.
That's it.
Any other citizen comments? All right. Any discussion from the board members?
Does it make a difference for precedents that the windows are not beyond repair?
I would think so.
Also, there are storm windows that are all all of the windows. I am not an engineer, but generally, I have heard that storms and historic windows are equivalent to most modern vinyl and wood replacements.
Going straight from the guidelines, 17.5 that staff provided. Original windows shall be retained when possible and repaired as needed, as in the design guidelines.
Are you talking about 5B?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I had circled. Is 5C the section that allows for them to be, is it basically 5B versus 5C? Is that what we're talking about here?
We might want, staff to can.
Sorry,
staff
one
come
more
back,
question,
please?
Vicky.
Thank you guys for your patience as
Yes.
we work through.
Yes.
A couple of these were a little complicated this week.
My question is, I referenced 5B, original windows shall be retained when possible and repaired as needed. You did state that as long as the replacements follow the design of the original windows, we do allow for vinyl in the special capital district.
Yeah, if you go down about 2 design guidelines, can you read what it says there? And I think there's even a notation about it being amended to allow,
That's C.
right?
Is that C?
C.
Is that
Can you
C?
read that?
Yeah.
When replacement windows are used, they shall match the original in size, shape, and design. Wood with vinyl clad or aluminum exteriors are allowed within the special capital district.
Right, so what that means is when someone comes into the office to replace their windows in special capital and the design and profiles match the existing original windows, but they are wood with vinyl or aluminum clad, those get administratively approved.
So in this case, they weren't administratively approved because of the slight design
Because of the
difference.
very slight difference. Yeah.
But so my question for the board, sorry, is how do we interpret that against 5B, which is original windows shall be retained when possible and repaired as needed?
Seems like a direct conflict.
Yeah.
Well, you have to understand, one of the reasons we are updating these design guidelines is that originally, before they were updated for the central business district and the special historic district, all 3 districts were governed by this set in Article 17. And so there began to be distinctions added. This was amended for special capital, but the rest of it was still relevant for the other 2. So what we have is something that needs to be more consistent with the intent of special capital and the way that zone has been administered, so long as that's what the residents support. And we are going to be updating those design guidelines too, and we will be asking for everybody's input, doing a lot of public engagement, because, you can't really enforce a program that the community doesn't support. But at the same time, that explains why we have conflicting guidance within Article 17, which was originally designed to cover 3 historic zones and now is only covering 1.
Ms.
Thank
Conkle,
you.
there, historically, what occurred, originally, we did not allow vinyl windows, period. That was changed, and this addition came on later and did not withdraw the first statement that they're encouraged to be maintained. The problem we have is that we have an ordinance that not us, but was drafted, that has conflicting portions. That is held against the drafters, not against the applicants.
Okay, then, thank you, Ms. Berenberg. I have another question for you, Mr. Logan. So what is the legal advice on
I think
having
the
2
legal advice
guidelines
is
that
staff-
say?
I think staff correctly indicated to you that generally what we do and the precedent we use is if they come in and have the same, we grant it.
Okay.
In this case, there may be a slight difference, but I don't know that we've distinguished how that difference removes that condition.
Thank you. Any other discussion among the board members? I see your brain working.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how this compares to the address on Murray, or actually on East Forest.
We have to focus on the application that's before us right now and
not precedent.
Right. Just this review for tonight. If there's no further discussion, is there a motion? Is there no motion from another board member?
It's a lot of windows.
All of them.
It's a lot of windows. There's not obvious proof of the windows are not salvageable, that they're,
Staff would report that they seem to be in fairly good condition. Not operable, but not beyond repair.
So,
Ms. Conkle, is it appropriate to discuss proposed ideas for compromises at this point?
Mr. Logan?
Yes, ma'am.
Would it be appropriate for us to talk about maybe some possible alternatives and additions to staff suggestions? How did you word your question? This sounds explicit.
compromise.
Compromises? Is that?
We can always talk about compromises, but I haven't heard any testimony tonight that a compromise of what staff has put out and that the applicant put, the request of the applicant that would indicate would solve this problem. I think we're concerned about a conflicting portion of our regulations, and that's not on the agenda to be addressed tonight as a public hearing.
Thank you. But if you had an idea for this application specifically.
I don't have it. I guess the conflicting guidelines legally would not give me a reason to bring forth a compromise, as I understand. So.
Well, they could always bring forth the compromise, but I don't think the applicant has indicated that they want a compromise. If they do, they can certainly step up and tell them forward that.
Mr. Murray, would you be willing to entertain some just conversational possibilities?
Well, as long as the compromise includes replacing sashes, yes. Replacing windows. I will replace some of the windows, but not all of them. In particular, I want to replace the large windows. Perhaps the windows on the sides and leave the front street windows as is.
Where's the picture of the front?
What do you think about that?
Hang on
There
one
it is.
second.
Okay.
I don't see anything in the ordinances about inches and fractions of inches.
Would you be willing to make sure that those windows are donated to somewhere?
Oh, yes. Yes, I plan on recycling the storm windows. They're going to have the glass removed and the aluminum's going to go to Midwest Metals in Shelbyville.
Yeah, well, I'm less concerned about the aluminum clad, but the sashes that you
Well,
will be
aluminum is easily recyclable.
Yeah, well, the sashes themselves can go to a salvage, architectural, or there's still a lot of people.
I don't know of any architectural salvage in Frankfurt. I know in
there's-
Louisville,
there's some that will
Louisville's
come pick
closed
'em up.
now.
Isn't there one in Newport?
There's, I'm sure, maybe staff could help find a place
Yeah,
to
I
donate
I
them.
would do that, yes. I'm not interested in smashing windows and burning
Believe it or
flames.
not, there is a lot of people out there that have find a very hard time finding windows of that era. So, I almost would guarantee that they would not go to waste.
I'm sorry, I lost track, bear with me one moment, sir. I'm sorry, I lost track about the primary facade window comment. What was?
I believe I understood the applicant as saying they would entertain the idea of making a compromise regarding the street-facing windows on the front. Correct?
Yes.
What about the side, what elevation is that? West elevation? That's an
Let me
alley,
think.
but,
The west elevation is Mr. Rogers' side. That's above his driveway. And there are
page 6.
6 windows on that side?
We're talking about page numbers, I think, right?
Yeah.
Page
6 times.
In our report.
I think those are the big windows he would like
Mhm.
to replace.
There are 4 big windows on the front side, on the street side.
Right.
But it looks
There are
like,
6 big windows on the west side, and, let me think about it, 4, yeah, okay. You can see, yeah, that's 6 on the west side, and I don't see the east side.
so can you, is that an alley there on the west?
No, that is Mr. Rogers' driveway.
That's
They're
his
both
driveway.
driveways on both sides.
Okay.
Yes, the east side is our driveway, the west side is Mr. Rogers' driveway.
Thank you so much.
Feel a little better.
And I
Painting
think
the
that,
front.
I don't see aluminum storm windows as historic.
We're talking about the sashes themselves, the wood sashes of the
Well,
windows.
removing, the intrinsic to this is removing these aluminum storms.
Right, but
So what is visible will be the wood windows, or the aluminum clad wood windows. And the aluminum storms will be gone.
Correct.
I do understand that the storms kind of partially block the view of the original windows, and also that they're not historic themselves. I don't even believe that they meet the design guidelines suggested. However, they do protect the original windows, and they're already there, so you would be keeping the historic windows.
Any other discussion?
I mean, I'm of the persuasion to deny the proposal, the original proposal,
Mm-hmm.
and throw forth our compromise.
Yeah.
Do we have
The
the power to do that versus, like, because the issue, it seems to me that the issue,
The conflict
the
in the
conflict
design
is,
guidelines.
yeah, is the only reason they're here is because of the minuscule overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
The replacement, or I mean, the storm windows are insignificant to
yeah.
the grand.
The application.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Well,
I would be really willing for the front facing windows to be repaired and keep historic and allow the changes
To the
to the rest.
with the donation of any
Yeah.
remainders. And we could do that by adding suggestions rather than denying.
Just add more conditions.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll just add 2 suggestions to the existing staff recommendations to do that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Somebody else take this one.
Well, I was gonna say it to you. We'll make Brittany do it.
Well, thank you. All right, Nicole, are you able to correct me if I?
I will provide assistance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I would like to make a motion. Are we ready for that? Okay.
Yes.
In accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfurt zoning ordinance, to approve a certificate of appropriateness, but adding conditions for the property at 110 East Todd Street. So I would like to approve the replacement of the historic windows with the pocket windows on the rear of the home and the side elevations. I would like to add a condition that the windows on the facade of the home, the facade elevation, remain in place.
Front facing.
And also, I would like to add a condition that the windows that are removed from the side exteriors and the rear of the home are donated to an architectural salvage facility.
Front facing
The front facing.
windows.
Front facing
On
windows.
the previous one.
Hang on just one second. Mr. Miller?
What if you want to sell them?
I don't, that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't
just
think
no.
we can specify it has to go to a salvage group.
No.
I think
Okay.
that they be salvaged in some manner.
Salvage.
I would
Should
have
I
no
s-
idea how to sell them.
Do I need to redo anything with
I
the
think-
amendments?
I think if
I
we'll just.
came up to ask, do you require the storm windows be left on the front elevation?
No.
The application as it states right now says the aluminum storm windows will be removed. The only thing we did was add two staff suggestions, and that'd be that repair, as Ms. Selms' motion was, that in addition to the 3 existing staff suggestions, that the primary facade windows be rehabilitated, repaired rather than replaced, and that the window parts be stored
Or salvage.
or salvaged.
Staff, can you help them with maybe finding a better use for the windows than going in a dumpster?
We will try to do that, yes.
There we go. I think that's what we want. Just
Yeah.
that we try.
Okay, so number 4, they can replace the side and rear elevations with the pocket windows. They're restoring the primary facade windows.
Not necessarily restoring, but just keeping them, I suppose.
Or maintaining.
Maintaining. Yeah.
And then the windows shall be salvaged as number 6.
The windows removed should be stored in the residence or salvaged. This board has seen instances where people have come in and bought properties where the windows were retained and they put them back in. So, just so you know.
Okay, I think I've got that.
All right, do we have,
Nowhere to store the windows on site.
You can salvage them as well.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Miss Overland.
Yes.
Miss Sands.
Yes.
Mr. Brink.
Yes.
Miss Conkle.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. One more, guys.
These have all been challenging, but I think we're doing it right.
In
Will you read
accordance
the-
with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfurt zoning ordinance, Jose Segovia, sorry, I hope I didn't murder that, of Lexington Investment Group LLC is requesting a certificate of appropriateness to modify existing window openings to allow proper installation of vinyl-clad windows purchased by previous owner and newly purchased vinyl-clad windows to match existing, to enclose the existing window openings on the rear elevation, to enclose 2 door openings on the north elevation, to approve already completed foundation work, and to perform investigative work on the front porch to determine how it can be repaired, rebuilt for the property located at 313 Conway Street. The property is more particularly identified as PVA map number 062-13-025.00.
Okay, so this one's a little bit complicated. we're- Let's start just by talking about the house a little bit and its significance. Again, it is located at 313 Conway Street. And it is a vernacular Victorian house built in the second half of the 19th century. It does show up on the early Sanborn maps, 1901 for South Frankfort, which really doesn't have very much mapped at that point. So it's been there a while. It has lost integrity, but it is still considered contributing to the South Frankfort Neighborhood National Register District. At some point it was covered with stucco. That probably was not the original treatment on the exterior. It also has lost some decorative scroll work that was in the front gable when it was surveyed in 2011, I believe. But it retains the circular shingles that are in the front gable and the decorative vent there. And also the decorative trim around the windows, although some of it is in very deteriorated condition. It also has East Lake style trim on the front porch. So the applicant is appearing this evening to receive approval for work that is either already completed or currently underway. And this, of course, is just the beginning of a total rehabilitation project. So we anticipate after this evening that the applicant will be coming back, perhaps, with more things if they can't be staff approved. So here's a map that kind of shows you the aerial view of the property and its location relative to Conway and 3rd Street. The applicant purchased the property from another developer, and at that time of purchase, several vinyl-clad Gen Weld windows had already been purchased to replace existing windows and were partially installed, but they do not fit the existing openings. So the applicant would like to make adjustments to the size of the openings to allow these windows to fit. And in addition, he's purchased several more of the same type of windows that match to replace the remaining wood windows. And again, vinyl-clad windows are permitted in the special capital zone, but in this case, he needs to reconfigure the openings to allow them to fit. And you should also know that the wood windows that were removed from the existing openings were not original, and that is a notation on the survey form. They were wood, they are old replacements. They also did not fit the openings. And you can see the evidence here of painted gray, where there was additional material added around most all of the openings to allow the windows that were there previously to fit as well. Let's see here. So I have in my notes. Here's some additional photos of the condition of the existing windows. And also you can see some of the replacements sitting in their assigned openings. other work that the applicant would like to have approved this evening includes the enclosure of the 2 windows on the rear addition of this property, which is sided with wood. These openings will be covered with siding, and my understanding is he is going to come back with a future application to put a new window on this addition, but he does not yet know what the size or configuration will be. Neither of these window openings are visible from any public right-of-way. You cannot see them at all. There are also 2 door openings that have been altered, and he is proposing to enclose them both. They will no longer be openings. One is not visible at all. The one on the left is on the addition. It's on the north elevation. You cannot see that from any public right-of-way. The other opening, however, is on the north elevation. It is visible from the street and the sidewalk. It is also covered with this hipped roof hood, which is, it was probably added later, maybe even in the early part of the 20th century, but staff does feel that is a character-defining feature, and it is pointed out on the survey form. So the applicant has been encouraged to keep this in place and recess that opening just enough to allow the installation of full-height shutters that would be installed flush with the wall that would delineate where that original door was. But those shutters would be fixed and closed. And then, of course, on the other side, it's just going to be a wall. There has also been some masonry added to the walls on the north and south elevations at the bottom. The stucco originally was applied all the way to ground level, and the foundation was not visible. So it's not like he was covering foundation material, it's just covering the existing stucco. Staff does not feel like this change can be easily reversed. We're actually recommending that this masonry work be coated with stucco or whatever the treatment is going to be on the exterior walls, as long as it meets the design guidelines to mitigate this alteration. And then finally, he was hoping to be able to demolish the porch and reconstruct it. It is in poor condition. It has suffered a lot of water damage. But of course, he has not worked in the historic zone before, so he didn't know that he would need to get approval for that, or that the historic trim is significant. So staff is encouraging that he keep that in place or find replacement material to match. However, the roof does need attention, and he would like to do some investigative demolition to figure out what to do with that. So staff finds that this work and proposed work is partially compatible with the South Capitol Design or Special Capital Design Guidelines, Articles 4 and 17, and the following suggested facts, which are: 1, the applicant inherited many of the vinyl-clad windows with the purchase of the house. 2, the remaining wood windows appear to be replacement windows with evidence that additional material was used to make them fit the openings. 3, the addition of brick masonry at the bottom of the north and south elevation at the ground level may be difficult to reverse without damage. 4, the porch with scroll work and decorative brackets is called out as a character-defining feature on the Kentucky Individual Building Survey form from 2011. If staff elects to issue a certificate of appropriateness for this work, staff, excuse me, I said that wrong. If the ARB elects to issue a certificate of appropriateness for this work, staff recommends that the following conditions be applied. 1, the historic exterior window surrounds that remain shall not be further disturbed, or they will be carefully salvaged for potential reuse. I'm talking about the decorative trim around the exterior windows. Some of it is in poor condition, but some of it can possibly be reused. 2, the historic porch posts, brackets, and other decorative wood detailing associated with the porch shall not be disturbed at this time. A future COA will be obtained before rehab construction begins. 3, the brick masonry that has been added at the bottom of the north and south elevations will be covered with stucco or similar treatment, meeting the design guidelines to match the exterior wall surface. 4, the outline of the former door opening on the north elevation will be recessed slightly to allow the installation of full-height door shutters that will be affixed in a closed position and will sit flush with the exterior wall. The opening shall have trim, which will receive staff approval before installation. And 5, any additional exterior work shall require the review and approval by the Architectural Review Board unless a certificate of no exterior effect is issued, and the applicant will work with staff to meet the design requirements for the remainder of the project. And I'll be happy to answer questions.
Do any board members have questions for Ms. Berenberg?
Not at this time.
Do we have a front door?
I'm sorry?
Is there a front door?
There is a front door. It is a replacement vinyl door. It has 4 panels and a fan light in it. The original trim had already been replaced, and that door is... There's another replacement door on the survey form. So in 2011, the front door had already been lost and the trim replaced. Although there's a little section of trim at the top of it that still remains, and the location of the transom window still remains.
I have a question. I believe it was on staff suggestion. Oh, no, sorry. And yes, suggested facts number 2. The remaining wood windows appear to be replacement with evidence that additional material was used to make them fit existing openings.
Mhm.
So this application, you showed an image where the windows that are currently there are not the size that this house had historically, right? So the changes to the window openings that are proposed in this application, are they closer to or more
They are going to
disparate?
be a little bit smaller than the existing altered openings, I believe. Do you concur with that? Yeah.
The windows that are in now are proposed to stay.
There's only 6 windows in now
Okay.
that are wood, old windows.
Oh, I meant the ones
But-
that have
But
been.
the ones that have been installed at the time that he purchased them, yes, he would like to keep those and make the window openings fit so that he can use them. And they are wood windows with vinyl cladding.
Those are the ones on the side.
If you look on page 16, it's the one, the image closer on the left
There's-
is what they look like.
They're on the front too.
They are on the front.
Yeah.
So you said this work was in progress.
Yeah, and this
Right.
applicant has done a lot of work. This house was in very deteriorated condition. He had to do a lot of structural work for, just to make it structurally sound. And he's also taking it back to a single-family home configuration. It had been divided into 2 apartments.
We, this board, a couple of years ago, along with city staff, had mail-outs for people buying property in the historic districts. Are we still doing that?
Have think by the time the applicant, this was transferred, had quite quickly,
Oh.
came and get her.
And a lot of this was done previous to his.
Correct.
Are there any questions or additional questions for Ms. Fehrenberg?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Will the applicant please come and state their name for the record and the address, please?
Good evening, my name is Jose Segovia, and the address in question here is 313 Conway Street. Although not purposely, I'm hoping that being the last will not make it so complicated, but I'm trying to work with the staff and the board to make all necessary corrections and adjustments to meet requirements.
Have you read the staff report?
I have read the staff report and I'm in concurrence with what they suggest, yes.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the board?
Or comments? I can tell that porch is, I mean, I know it leans, but the roof on it is definitely not correct.
The
And it
roof
looks
on
like-
it is in very bad condition,
Yeah.
yes.
And it looks like it was probably a different shape. Before, it probably came up on the side instead of angling back. And I would explore some of that if you're doing demo on that.
Okay. That part I do not know. What we're hoping to do is just demolish, once we get that into progress.
Yeah.
Or into, submit the approval for, demolish the top part and keep the structure itself to just, replace what we have existing right now.
I have a feeling when you take off the top layer, you're gonna find a different shape of roof underneath of it. And it looks like somebody took away a box cutter at some point and just put a shed over it. But I would look at what was there. It might give you an idea of what put back, and it may be easier than you think, and still be able to save a lot of what you have.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. Are the rest of the window sizes? I mean, they're pretty out of square, and that's why you're having to lock them up.
Yes, they're very out of square to begin, and then the size of the windows that I inherited does not fit the opening, but it's close, I think, close enough to where we can make it work with the appropriate framing and such to where it would look good.
Any other questions, comments for the applicant? Have you had the opportunity to talk with city staff about whether neighborhood reinvestment grants, state tax credits, anything to help offset the cost of historic rehabilitation for
No, I have not.
the properties? Thank you.
I'm just curious, this rear addition, what is it? Is it?
The rear addition, when it was done, I don't know what the purpose was, but as it stands today, we are making that a bathroom, a full bath.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Were there any citizen comments for this application? Did anybody else want to speak about this property?
I got one more.
A question for the applicant?
I think so.
Could you come back,
Sorry.
please? Thank you, sir.
On the back, above the addition, there is a little window, but it looks like that window used to be full size.
Yeah.
Do you plan on keeping the smaller window or taking it back to the original opening?
Is this in the very back?
Yeah, it's page 13.
Oh, okay.
Do you see
You can see this one.
up at the top?
Right. No, the plan is to keep that size of window that the picture shows currently.
Yeah.
It is, just so you know, it is not.
Hang on one second.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. That's all.
You guys? Okay, thank you. Any discussion points from the board?
I do have a question for Kevin.
Yeah.
This is because I am not a contractor. If they were to cover what looks like the foundation, it kind of looks like almost like a water table. at this
Are you
point.
talking about
The-
the new masonry?
The new masonry with let's say stucco or a different material, would that pull water up into the rest of the materials? Would it be better to like what is gonna
I
keep
have
water
some
off
questions
of it
about
the
its
best?
functionality myself,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we can speak to that. But I would give advice on maybe dealing with that masonry of putting some flashing on top of it. If it was my project, that's probably what I would try to do, because it's gonna the brick itself is gonna pull wick moisture inside of there, and you could damage the wood structure underneath over time. And I don't know what material's underneath, so I can't speak to that. But,
Stucco. There's stucco underneath.
so, yeah, you could.
If I may, I'd like to speak on that in that regard. When I took possession of the house, the side stucco was in very bad shape.
Yeah.
To where I would push it and it would move. So that's why we made the decision to do what you see now.
Yeah.
I apologize for doing that without the board approval, but it was done by somebody who has experience doing this. And if I'm not mistaken, he did use a weather repellent beneath those bricks that you see there. Now, if the board requires for additional stucco, we would be, not happy from my pocket standpoint, but okay to do that. We would be okay to do that, yeah.
Would there be any reason to add stucco? No,
Thank
that's-
you.
I'm wondering, like, since.
I don't know. I mean, if it's so gonna
If it would be worse.
is it gonna
Yeah,
be painted or is
exactly.
it?
Well, but I'm thinking from a water standpoint, if you were to add stucco on top of brick, would it pull more water?
Not
into-
necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not. I don't know facts on that one.
Okay.
Can I ask Ms. Berenberg to come back up 1 second? So this was a staff suggestion to cover the brick that was added with stucco. What was the basis for that staff suggestion?
Just that masonry can take stucco, and I felt like it would be, visual mitigation for the most part, just to continue the existing wall covering as it looked originally. It's
So-
bumped out a little bit, but that is the way it was. They were stucco all the way to the ground.
Okay, so it's visual, based on a visual recommendation less than an integrity
Yes.
situation. Okay, thank you. Does that help?
I'm just thinking about how the applicant said the stucco was deteriorated. And I'm wondering if that's because it was so close to the ground and taking up water. If you put new stucco on top of the water.
Well,
is
it's a
that
different
too-
structure.
Okay. Again, I'm not an engineer or a contractor, so these are just questions that I have as far as whether that's necessary or that we, I guess, design versus structural harm. But it sounds like it's not an issue, so,
I wouldn't consider it.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it's already masonry. Putting masonry over the top of masonry is not
Okay.
probably gonna change anything of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
May I ask a question of the board?
Sure.
Does anybody have any thoughts about the door that has the contributing, the kind of corbelled,
Are you talking about the front door or the
No,
side?
no, no, the side door.
Do we need to specify that that remains?
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
Yeah, I just want to know what everybody else's thoughts were about that. I think staff suggested that it can be removed so that, you know, it's a flush wall on the interior, no door, like
Then-
closed shutters over it to make it appear like there's a door there, keeping with design.
And keeping the,
Yeah, so here it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
What page number 16?
This is 16. You can see it from the side.
So you're, what is, I want to make sure I understand, like, I'm concerned about this. This is going to stay. correct?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
staff, yeah. Yeah, you have to build over it.
Yeah. And it seems like a decent solution to me, with the stipulation that this
Yeah.
feature
Okay.
remains.
I didn't know if there had been any precedents established for that in the past, that we're allowed to speak of, or just if anybody else had thoughts on it. It was just more of a question.
he's still got a lot of work to do. It's a very significant project.
Yes.
Any other thoughts, comments, question, discussion?
No.
Did you want to consider the comment you made about the door to add to the staff suggestions, or see if that's something?
Which comment are you referring to specifically?
About dealing with adding the stipulation about the side door.
No, I think the staff suggestions pretty much cover what we were talking about. As far as at least keeping the appearance that there's a door there and keeping the covering, so, yeah.
Alright. If there isn't any more discussion, do we have a motion?
I was not following what you two were doing with the side door.
Nothing, what,
Just leaving it.
yes, gets covered in staff suggestions under number 4.
Okay. I'll make a motion in accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfurt zoning ordinance that the property at 313 Conway Street gets a certificate of appropriateness based on the staff's suggestions. I think that's,
On page 4
yeah,
and 5.
yes. I think that's,
When you say suggestions, you mean the
That's-
conditions for approval?
Yes.
Just making sure.
yes, conditions.
Is there, oh, I'm not the chair.
I'm not gonna push yet.
I'm just trying to hurry this along.
Yes.
I think it's suggested, suggested facts and staff suggestions,
There
right?
you go. Suggested facts and staff suggestions.
Okay. Do we have a second?
One second.
All right. Will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Oberlin?
Yes.
Ms. Sands?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Conkle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We look forward to seeing that.
You got a lot of work there.
Yeah, good luck.
I was in it before it even was touched, and it was scary how much work needed to be done, and I'm really glad that somebody's finally getting to the problems that were there. I'm liking that you included the engineering report, even though you probably didn't need to. That's a big thing. So.
And before we move on to the next item on the agenda, thank you for your investment in Frankfurt, and thanks to all applicants tonight for their investments in Frankfurt. will you read the next agenda item, please?
Citizen comments,
Oh, sorry. And after that?
recap of Frankfurt Heritage Week, Preservation Month.
Thank you.
I just wanted to take a moment to kind of recap the first ever Frankfurt Heritage Week, which the city did participate in. And we got a lot of really positive response to the event overall. Of course, it was primarily organized by the Franklin County Trust for Historic Preservation. And there were lots of participating organizations, both at the state and local level. Let's see, I was told by the organizer who set up the Facebook and social media announcements for the week-long celebration that over 13,000 people saw the posts, and that there were over 3,500 engagements with all the various events, just, looking at the social media stats, which is pretty good. City-sponsored events included 3 educational presentations. There was one that was hosted by Nick Laraquente, who works for the State Historic Preservation Office, and he is a bourbon archaeologist, and he so kindly agreed to give a city-sponsored presentation on that topic, bourbon heritage and archaeology. And then there was also a public archaeology and stewardship presentation that our chairman, Nicole Conkle, gave. That presentation was recorded, as well as one that I did on residential architectural history, and those have both been uploaded, thanks to Jordan, to the city website and can be linked to by the public, which is really great because we're fulfilling that mandate to do public education. So, and then also we had an expanded ARB agenda for May's meeting, which was really great because you all took the time to talk a little bit about your backgrounds and your qualifications for your positions on the board. So I thank you all for your participation, and I think it was very well received, even though we were still dealing with the pandemic. I'm sure it will continue next year, although the events will probably be more in person and less virtual. But good work. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I want to thank both Vicki and Nicole and Nick. It was some great programming.
Let's do it again next year.
Let's do it.
And I believe there's one more item on the agenda, staff approvals.
I think Jordan's going to do the administrative approvals, but
Okay.
before he does that, I just want to say that, since I started in January, I've been working with Jordan, and we've been tweaking this format of the staff reports, and you probably noticed a little change from month to month. I'm trying to find that sweet spot with it where you've got all the information you need, not too much information that you don't really think is relevant. So some of you did provide feedback, and that was great. And if you haven't done that, I would encourage you to do that. It'll be, it's a work in progress. So thank you. Oh, and I also should mention, we have another educational event coming up in August, which we haven't talked about in detail lately, but we have Bob Yap scheduled to come for a public workshop that's going to be more than 1 day long, and I believe it's the weekend of August 21st-ish, but I will confirm that. But I just want to mention it tonight to kind of get it on your radar. We're going to be getting publicity going for that and so on, but I want you to be able to talk to the public about it as well. So get the dates and you can get it on your calendar. Thank you.
All right, would you just like me to read through these, Nicole? Does that sound good?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
So, I didn't include this with your packet, and I apologize. I slipped my mind. But I emailed those to you yesterday. If you'd like a hard copy, I can get it to you as well. So here's a list of administrative approvals in these local historic districts covering the period from May 12th to June 14th. In the Special Capital District, we had 5 administrative approvals, one at 201 Capitol Avenue for interior work, creating more offices, no interior expansion or exterior work as a part of that permit. Second, administrative approval at 327 Steel Street to repair fascia boards and roof on a front porch in kind with the existing. Third, 522 Murray Street, expand existing wood landing. 4, 310 East 4th Street, a 12 by 12 unattached pavilion in the backyard. 5, 522 Steel Street for an interior remodel, re-roofing in kind with asphalt shingle and to repoint 2 chimneys. And in the Special Historic District 6, 100 Wilkinson Street, fence around a garden in the backyard. Regarding number 5 at Steel Street, we were notified that unauthorized exterior work was going on after the permit was issued, and we are working with the applicant to get that corrected and get a COA obtained. No additional exterior work is permitted at this time with that permit, fortunately.
Thank you for the update. Does anybody have anything else?
I'd like to say that we were limited tonight with people, but I think we really came up with some good stuff and found a way to work with the population, the public, to get what they wanted and try to use the guidelines as best we could. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Look forward to those guidelines being addressed.
Agreed. And I appreciate the discussion. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, does anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.